Welcome to Capital Bar. I am Tom Dutchig, and welcome to Capital Bar After Hours, where the panel and I have some kind of extended time to have a little bigger conversations about some of the stories of the week here in Connecticut. Quite frankly, anything else you feel like chatting about, guys. So Brandon McGee, Joe Arasimowicz, Liz Kranowitz, and Johnny Mack is back there, huh? Feeling good, ready to rumble?
He went formal.
We're ready.
Right,
Let's go.
All right, guys.
Unbutton John. Relax a little. You're a little stuffy.
I'm good.
You're good? All right, guys. All right. We talked about you putting Stephen A. kind of clothes on, pink suits
A pink
on.
suit.
That'd be very good. Maybe for
Did you see what Patrick Mahomes came in with last week? You
Yes.
looked sharp.
Yep.
Was that the bedazzled suit?
No, it almost looked like a DeLorean.
Where are we going with it?
Can we discuss
It's not Big Poppy, I'll tell you that much. That's a man who knows how to dress.
the salaries and the clothing expenses that Patrick Mahomes and Stephen A.
There you
did?
go.
Now
There
you
you
might
go.
be a little
Right, there-
hard on,
We need to-
on any of us.
We need to up
right,
the
there
capital
goes-
report budget is what he's
there
saying.
goes
help you out, Brandon.
but there goes our audience. Hey, we wanted to talk about our pal Keith Fanoff. Had a great story in the Connecticut Mirror regarding some unions and pay raises. Fanoff reports that state unions are getting into it with the Gov concerning pay raises and that talks are not going well. And all of this could start factoring into the Connecticut's proposal to dip into the state pension fund to purchase the Connecticut Sun Arasimowicz. So there's a lot of moving parts here, right?
There is.
You know?
And the state employees, I'll try to speak to them as a group, right? Like, they're frustrated. They went a lot of years without increases. After the budget started to get better in 2019, they did get raises, but they have a lot of years to make up for. They thought they had an agreement that was going to be voted on in this session, and it didn't come to pass. And then they hear about the WNBA team with the pension funds, and that's the reaction of their members. What about us? We do the frontline work on a day in and day out basis. We don't feel like we're being appreciated, and you're going to risk our pension money with the WNBA. I pulled back a little bit. I said, look, what's the return on the investment in the WNBA? Sure. If it's a higher rate of return than you're currently getting, you guys should all take it. But it's emotional now. It's emotional. They feel like they weren't respected, they weren't seen, and they weren't taken care of in a way they felt was appropriate. And this just adds.
But they were, they were complaining when Jeffrey Sonnenfeld at Yale basically told them exactly how much they've lost over
They were
decades.
complaining when our returns,
$50 billion.
when our returns were 49th in the country. They were. That's why. Like, I don't understand how these two issues relate to each other.
Emotionally,
do I think our pension fund should invest in buying the Connecticut Sun? No, I don't. But I mean, the pension fund has been underfunded. They haven't complained. By the way, we've had Democrats in control of the legislature for 48 out of the last 50 years.
I'll tell you how it relates. You know, having a conversation on pensions is not always the fluffy talk and people can understand the nuance in it, right? Very technical.
So they get the team.
So, that was a good one. But the other piece is you have, for example, I remember serving in the legislature, you have people in that world of education, the world of housing, the world of social services, and they hear all of these fiscal guardrails and control. Meanwhile, people
ripped his mic off.
Meanwhile,
so excited
people are
in that.
saying, you guys are having conversation about all of this money, and my community is going down the drain. Yeah. You're giving raises to state employees, but my community is going down the drain. So it's like, it's an imbalance in conversation. So there is a there.
Well, but where's the outrage? I mean, these are conversations, and you have to give credit where it's due. Tim Herbst made this a huge part of his campaign for treasurer in 2014. Yeah. This was a long time ago. Yeah. We've been having this conversation for a very long time. And credit to our friend Jeffrey Sonnenfeld, who's continued to bring this to the forefront. We're 46th in the nation in funding our pensions. We are 49th in the nation in our returns.
Well, let's let this down.
By the way, someone at this table put in a bill in 2001 to say that we should not be a sole fiduciary.
You?
We've been talking about it for a long time.
Here, let's let it down. Ned Lamont wants the unions to return to the physical workforce. He wants them back in Hartford.
Hartford needs them to come back.
The union wants their pay raise. Now, they believe, if you believe what Keith Fanoff wrote, that the governor will probably cave in and give them the raise and let them work remotely. So what do they have to lose?
I don't believe that.
Okay.
I think they should both come to the table and understand the economic impact of them being in the city and agree to it and put it on the table.
Unions really give back stuff they've collectively bargained for.
Joe,
that usually happens.
And I'm not convinced it was collectively bargained. They all point to this arbitration ruling. I think it was flawed.
It also
Okay.
goes beyond the convenience of working from home. There are critical services that our taxpayers and our residents deserve, and those things are better done when people are working in the office and delivering those services to the public. So you're going to continue to hear about this issue in particular, I'm sure, from Vin Candelora and the House Republicans. This has been a huge issue for them, and they're not going to let this go.
Can we just say the unsaid? People working remotely, they enjoy it.
Sure.
Productivity is high.
Sure.
Right? And so I'm not saying we need to just everybody get back to the office. This is a really
It
interesting
really is case by case
It is.
specific.
It is.
Some jobs can help constituents if they can talk remotely to somebody
That's
instead
right.
of driving to Hartford. Some people do better remotely, are more productive. A lot of people are more productive in the office. It really is not one size fits all.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the most productive and enlightening conversations I've had with coworkers was us bumping into each other in the hall,
Agreed.
having a one-off conversation.
Outside of the bars.
Yeah, but like, you know,
Officers
hey,
Club.
I just got this phone call. Have you ever heard of a situation like that? Yeah, I had that before. This is the problem.
Yeah.
And you do that. It's missing when people aren't side by side.
One other thing about the union contract, isn't it funny how it always tends to come up around a gubernatorial election? But thanks to Joe Lenfazano and others, we're actually going to force legislators
That's
to vote
right.
for it.
We don't get it deemed approved anymore. You've got to have your voice heard.
Let's play read the prompter. You take this one.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Okay,
God.
Let's go. Go ahead.
All
Go
right,
ahead.
so moving on, let's talk about vaccines. Connecticut Public Health Commissioner gathered with a number of state leaders and medical experts last week to reaffirm their commitment to vaccine access in Connecticut and respond to the proposed immunization guidelines from Washington. What they may not have counted on was a vocal crowd of people who say vaccines are dangerous.
Amen.
And want the government to butt out about their families.
And then say, watch this.
Watch this.
The reality is we do not have a causal relationship between acetaminophen and autism. Is it something that can be studied? Yes. Are there studies that have been done to date? Yes. What we are saying is we do not want to take public health principles on science and how we advise people out of context. And we are trying to work with you to help show you where we are working with the federal government and where we may choose to do things differently as the months go ahead.
You ready?
There was one Republican lawmaker in the room to have the backs of families and advocates who stand against vaccine mandates. Take it away, Ann Daphne.
I think that the people in this building that came today want to have a voice. They want to be heard. They want to see where this is going. They want to know, why are you doing this? We know that their vaccines are already covered. Where are you going with this? What's the next step? And they have big concerns about that, and I stand with them in that concern.
All right, hands off to McGee, huh? Come on.
Well done.
Hey, man, I give you credit.
And also, you
bad,
did
Jeff.
not have a
No,
heads up. So
Right.
this is sort of like me getting
It
the
only took me
the shot.
5 years
Like,
to
you
get good
don't
at that,
know.
so you did it on one time.
This guy,
Hey,
man,
And he didn't have to
plus,
say
hey.
misoprostone.
You know, a lot to talk about on the state and national issue about vaccines, guys, right?
Yeah, look, again, I echoed it on the regular Capitol report just before this. It's concerning. It is very concerning when you have administrative folks that are in charge of our federal response and our federal public health issues using bunk science and misinforming the public. Vaccines have saved numerous lives. They continue to save lives. Our kids need to be vaccinated. And when we feed into this fear that occurred over COVID, which I think we can all discuss objectively and say, yeah, we weren't always told the truth. They rolled it out clunky. There was a lot of things to it. But now having it carrying over to things like whooping cough, measles, mumps, rubella. I mean, this is scary stuff, and we're not being intellectually honest. Not we, but the federal government's not being intellectually honest. Yeah. It's scary. And I can see why both people on both sides are so afraid right now, because they're not getting reliable, accurate information.
Oh, they don't know who to trust, I think
Yes.
is really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And that has been a consistent issue when we go back and look at, the 4 years of the Biden administration and the concerns people have about information that was coming out of the government during that time. I think we're hearing the same concerns from people who are seeing what's happening right now. I think ultimately the message here really needed to be one about making sure that everyone has a choice to make the decisions for themselves and their families that work for them. And that, to me, is just really the underlying issue here. And when we've talked about that, I mean, that has to be at the core of this. People should be allowed to make their own healthcare decisions, period, the end. And a lot of this, you have to remember, this goes back to the way that a lot of these advocates were treated when the religious exemption was removed. Yep. And they were not treated very well. And the conversation around that issue was not very honest, right? I mean, a fraction of the unvaccinated community were for religious exemption. Yeah. The overwhelming majority I believe it was like 30,000 kids out of the 534,000 public school students were non-compliant. Yeah. Right? They were not religious exemption. And so, the dialogue around this issue has been convoluted and unfair. And I think that's what you are seeing now from folks on the vaccine conversation.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Tylenol right now. When you talk about trust and somewhat misinformation, I think about communities of color across the state.
100%.
And even writ large across this country, with the lack of trust in the healthcare 100%. System and the information that's being shared.
Back from the Tuskegee experiment.
Absolutely.
I mean, even before that.
And so I think we're running against trying to undo the misinformation and reassure all communities that they have access to proper information. You should have a choice, to vaccinate your children or not. A father of two, we're getting vaccinated, but I'm not going to force that on your children or yours or anybody else's. So this is going to be a really interesting time as we go into a season where we don't have access to vaccines. Yeah. We don't. So what are we going to do when the numbers start to go up and we have this crisis here in the state of Connecticut?
Did you know that Cuba has no Tylenol, no autism?
None.
None. That's what I was told yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Wow.
Don't get me started on the Tylenol
That's a
thing.
whole
situation. I could go
situation.
for 20 minutes.
When the government lies to its people,
Yep.
you can't express surprise or frustration when you have people who are screaming out about these kinds of things.
Yeah.
Because how can you trust them? Add in the fact that, and we all know this in politics, well, it doesn't matter which party you're from, you're taking millions of dollars from big pharma companies. Sure. And the Tylenol thing is a little scary, but I will say this. Joe Biden, Barack Obama, George Bush, let's go back through leaders of our country. Ignored the fact that autism rates are skyrocketing. Skyrocketing. And something is causing that. And we should have a full government, as much money as we can put into science and research without politics to see if we can find out what can solve it.
And that's the impossible part.
But the-
right?
I was gonna say,
I'm not
Is
sure
stripping
if
out the
they're familiar
politics
with
of it.
science.
Correct.
And
But
just
if Donald Trump and Bobby Kennedy Jr. actually found a way to solve autism, the left wouldn't agree. They wouldn't right now in Washington, D.C.
Well, he did when Donald Trump put
Washington, D.C.
Operation Warp Speed. I mean,
That
that was a
fair.
very important piece of solving the COVID puzzle.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, just to kind of close out with, I don't think we would agree, right? The temperature is like
And that's the point.
It's hot.
And if Joe Biden had done it, the right wouldn't have. I'm just saying where we are today.
I enjoyed a lot of success in my life, and it had very little to
Not
do
on the
with
football
me.
field.
Oh!
75% winning playoffs every year.
Okay, he's talking about you as a player.
Okay, let me change.
But
Not
what-
on the golf course.
That's true. But what I was able to do is listen to both sides and try to get them together. To your point and to my complaints of the federal government right now, specifically Secretary Kennedy, he's right on what they put in our food. If he had come out with that and really focused, and the American people, when they heard him talk on the campaign trail, Republicans, Democrats, unaffiliated, independents, uninformed, were like, yeah, it is true. What's the deal? Yeah. And we've skipped over that. We've gone into this hokey science that plays to an area of our population that's already really scared. It was a bad decision. It's bad rollout. go back to what you said. What's going into our food?
All right, we got to take a quick
right,
break.
we gotta take a break,
Quick break to pay some bills, guys.
Oh.
More Pura talk when we get back. Don't go away. We're still arguing here. So next topic, Governor Lamont needs to find a new Pura chair. We talked about this in the Big Boy program. The embattled Marissa Gillette is leaving, and the Gov has his work cut out for him. Watch this.
As you can imagine, we've been trying to recruit people to go on Pura, the regulatory board, now for some months. And given all the back and forth and lawsuits and impeachment, it's a job I have to recruit hard for. So anybody want to be a Pura commissioner, let me know. I need somebody with a strong business background, knows something about energy and regulation.
Any names
like,
yet? Any names
I'm
yet?
Liz is ready.
Speechless.
What?
This is not
Speechless.
new. For years, the law has said there shall be 5. Period.
There
End of
shall
story.
be 5.
This is not a, oh my goodness, I had no idea, right? Like, and not only that, but the legislature has reaffirmed it over and over and over again. The governor has decided he wants to be a passive participant in this process. He has decided that he is literally letting the legislature take over. And to me, I am like incredulous to this. The idea that you have a regulatory authority that the law says there need to be 5 commissioners on, and you currently have 1. Mike Karen is on an expired term. Get it together.
It's hard to follow that.
Well, it's
I try and make it as
it's a dog on a
difficult as
bone for
possible.
sure. It's for sure.
She'll tease me afterwards. Got you. You were speechless. And
You
were.
were.
You got
I mean,
me.
I was almost speechless.
Look, I want to just hard stop. A lot of things have happened. Remember why Pura was created. It is a regulatory body that used to be a function of the legislature, but because it's so complex and so politically hot, they shipped it off to a neutral arbitrator of fact with certain expertise to sit on it and weigh out what this all does. That system got intertwined with the politics over the years. And there was more bashing of each other than there was moving forward. This is a good opportunity. I disagree with Ned Lamont every so often. On this particular case, I think I will. It's going to be easy to get people on there now. But you got to go a step farther, Governor. You need to look at Pura as a whole, let them know you do not have policy initiatives as a Pura regulated body. You decide the merit of the case. You don't directly communicate with the legislature on their policy goals. You implement and enforce what they send back to you. There has to be a lot of reformatting Pura to a way that all of us feel comfortable. And it is boring again. It's a regulatory process, John, like you have at DCP.
I agree with 99% of what you said. Look, I think if a legislator wants to ask a Pura commissioner,
put it in writing and let it exist.
questions about energy policy, I think that's
should be able
acceptable
to.
to
Yes.
ask.
Absolutely.
So I agree with you. Look, they are regulators. They are not policymakers. And I think the governor's maybe looking for a needle in the haystack. I don't think these positions are as hard to find as he's making it out to be, because if you're really intelligent and you understand how to be a regulator, you'll figure this out at the end of the day. The other thing I think he could do, and I'm not criticizing the current person there, is beef up the Consumer Counsel's office. That is the other side of the seesaw to the utilities.
And they do different things.
Right, no, but the Consumer Counsel is there to be a counterbalance to the utilities.
Yes.
They're coming in, they're asking for something, and because they're asking for it for their company, and the Consumer Counsel is supposed to say, I'm representing the ratepayers. That is, I'm an advocate for the ratepayers.
And those lines between the Consumer Counsel and the Pura Commission,
They
as a
blurred a
whole,
little bit too much.
too much, John.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they put it into deep at one point
Yeah,
because
right.
Dan Estee
Also a
under
mistake.
Dan Malloy,
Correct.
he wanted to have control over regulatory issues as well.
Most bad things
And that was
go back
taken
to
out
the
in
Malloy
legislation, but has it happened yet?
It is out.
It's out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look, you talk to businesses all the time. Go talk to Commissioner O'Keefe, right? Like, energy is the #1 issues the business ask about when they come in. And the other thing you hear from businesses all the time, Christy Batima will say it, is predictability.
Correct.
You didn't have either in the current Pura format. So let's fix it.
You have ratings agencies pointing to a very volatile regulatory environment as why they're downgrading our utilities. That cost gets put onto the ratepayers. That makes every single thing we do more expensive. Look, I think, David Arconti, Karen will do a
Holly
good
Cheeseman,
job.
let's say it. She's going on at some
Put a
point.
full complement of commissioners on Peoria. This is not news. That is a cop-out, right? That you can't find people. You are the governor of the state of Connecticut.
I can give some.
Figure
How do I follow
it
up?
out.
I can give some names. I mean, you have Ellen Katz out there. You have Jackie Borges out there. You have a ton of people. You have Rob Holdling with the finance background over at DECD. There are people that understand how you operate within the frame of a regulator that are available. I don't know where he goes, but the people are there. What we don't want to see, and I think it's shared by the utilities and shared by the legislature, we can't have Pura in the headlines. Make Pura boring again. Do your job. Have a doc.
there you go.
They decide.
All right, guys, take a quick break, and we get back. We're going to have a little capital report potpourri. We'll talk about whatever the heck we want to talk
Whatever
about.
grinds
Right?
my
Let's just not
That's
talk
right.
sports.
There you go. Right.
Oh, we're for
you
sure
got-
talking sports.
You got to explain basketball and football.
No, that's been on there for about 3 weeks now.
So a 3-point line, and maybe you can tell us how to get the arc. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, we're back. Hey, potpourri time, guys. As Tony Kornheiser would say on PTI, happy trails, First Selectman Jen Tooker. We hardly knew you, McKinney, right? She was you were on the big Tooker campaign, huh? You were a big
I was not
Tooker
part
bandwagon.
I'm not part of the Tooker
Okay,
campaign or
all right,
any other
well,
campaign yet,
okay.
because Ned Lamont hasn't announced.
There you go.
But I mean, apparently she's dropped out of the race.
It's not apparently she has.
It was a really difficult road for her. She's a really good person and a friend of mine. I did not see a path for her there, but there are constitutional offices, and she is smart. She's well spoken. She's a really good person. She, I think, would be good for the Republicans to consider for comptroller or secretary of state.
And John, not a friend of mine. I've seen her speak a couple times, but what I would ask her to do, first, I would like to thank her for having the courage of putting her name up there. That's not easy for anybody to do. We did it for years. We got to admit it's not easy. Don't pull yourself away from the debate. I think she has a voice of a municipality that's a highly important municipality to this state, and she's encountered things in her time in the First Selectman office to where she can point out to the candidates things to fix, how to do things better. So thank you for throwing your hat in the ring. Sorry you've gone so quick, but please stay involved and bring your expertise to the table.
Yeah, I know Jen, maybe not as well as you do, but I've known her a long time, and she will bring a lot to the conversation, and she cares deeply about these issues, which is why she put her hat in the ring in the first place, right? Like, she cares about these issues, and she believes deeply that we need a better path, and so I don't see her completely leaving the conversation. I haven't spoken to her, but I can't imagine that she'll just disappear. I think it is interesting as we continue to look at what this governor's race looks like and what the barriers to entry are. And it's really difficult to run for statewide office, particularly governor, from a municipality, and also a legislative
a very
seat.
small municipality
Right, yeah.
where 50% of the voters are registered Democrats.
Yeah.
Look, I think she's someone who, regardless of who's elected governor, could play an important role as a commissioner. I mean, her real strength is her business background and sort of a managerial experience, not as this magnetic orator politician type.
But John, let's go back to the name I put before for Pura, right? Rob Holdling. Let's be honest about what he was. He ran against Ned Lamont for governor.
Yeah,
right?
some would argue that
But he came in.
his independent line was helpful to Ned Lamont.
Mark Boughton, now part of the administration.
Yes, absolutely.
Governor Lamont puts the party labels off to the side. If he has a good person that can do a job,
Yes.
and if she
Yeah,
brings
absolutely.
expertise to the table, she's on the table to be hired.
And that is to his credit, right?
Very
And
much so.
as somebody who has obviously been on the other side of the governor in various ways, maybe even on a weekly basis, I always find him to be such a warm and welcoming sparring partner, right? I mean,
And he appreciates.
So I just want to, if you're okay with
Sure,
this,
man,
just
sure.
shifting a little bit, this aftermath of Charlie Kirk and the engagement of our youth or young professionals in this space, I'd love to see how Governor Lamont, Fazio, all of these folks running, What's your plan to engage this new generation of political advocates and organizers?
Have
in
a
the space?
podcast?
No, seriously, like
Yeah.
what does it look like?
My personal ask, beg, plea to every candidate running, stop scaring the voters. We're all scared enough.
Yeah.
Have an open, honest discussion about the issues. Let them make up
Never
their
gonna
mind.
happen, Joe.
I know, John.
Never gonna
No.
happen.
I'm going to cry on live TV.
I don't know
No,
if
it's a real thing.
I don't know if I agree that it will never happen. I tend to have more faith in our state politicians than I do at the federal level. I mean, I've worked on races where incumbent members of Congress couldn't even acknowledge that their opponents were good people. And so, things get a little hairy. I think our state politicians do a much better job. And again, to your point, sort of put it in a bow, credit to Ned Lamont on that front, right? I mean, he is not in that vindictive personal vein of politics, and we need more of that. And by the way, neither is Vinny. And look at Matt Ritter.
Matt Ritter and
those
Vinny
are
talk
two
every day.
exact. And that is an example of we
Vinny
need
doesn't
more
even
of
talk to
that.
his wife every day. So not really.
Leave Carolyn out of it.
That's it, guys, right?
That's it.
Anything else?
Oh, you're in charge.
No, I
This
know.
is your
We're
show.
following you.
Yeah, no. Anything else?
I'm done, but
You're done?
look, I still think we should take after hours on tour.
All right, guys.
Just make sure they have
the
vegan
panel.
pizza.
Hey,
Oh
keep,
my
Let's do
God.
it. Why don't we go to
keep
Berlin
it
High
going.
School?
Keep it going until
like
McKinney shoots that, huh?
Trying to give you
Oh, for
Give
two.
me another one. He interrupted my,
Yeah, he interrupted
my
nothing.
flow.
All right.